So that's kind of one thing I've been talking about a little bit that people have been agreeing with and really resonating with. And I think it's important because there's enough people talking about how much Bitcoin you need to get to. But it's like, if you're here now in 2025, you have more than enough Bitcoin.
I agree with that. And it's so interesting how we get those targets, and I'm guilty of that. Like I and my team are guilty of that because we just know it works. Like get to 1.9 Bitcoin, get to like 0.25 Bitcoin. Like it's arbitrary, and people are saying, of course, the target changes every day. Of course, it changes because you can make a case for different time frames. You can make a case for different situations. Some people might be fine with expenses of 30,000 a year. Some people might need 200,000 a year. Depends on like where you live and how you live, and those different living situations plus time frames. Like, are we talking 5 years? Are we talking 50 years? Because like 0.1 Bitcoin at some point will be a whole lot of Bitcoin, but probably not next year.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like people really need to think about their age, their lifestyle, and how much income they're bringing in. Because if they're still earning money, then they're going to be able to survive a lot longer than somebody who isn't bringing any income in. And it's like, if you start throwing around numbers, I know it's good for like the getting eyes and stuff because people like to see something. They like to have something to chase. But again, it just kind of reminds me of like the fiat system itself, because that's what people do. They try to chase different things instead of just adding value. And, Bitcoin, fortunately for us, is the best way to store that value. So to me, it really depends on your age, your lifestyle, what you spend your money on, and how much money you're bringing in. But the cool thing about Bitcoin is even in the future is like, you're going to have X amount of Bitcoin. There's going to come a day where people kind of look at their Bitcoin wallet, their balance of sats, and it's probably not going to go up much more from there. Because we've been so fortunate so far, being here now. I think it's incredibly early, but it's like you can still get 800 sats for $1. At some point in the future, that $1 is going to buy 8 sats. So it's like the balance won't go up like it is today. And so I feel like if you're not adding value, if you're not constantly replenishing that, it's going to be a problem. So, that's one thing I've been talking about.
That's super interesting. Before we get started with all the topics, maybe I can give you a quick opportunity to introduce yourself also, because maybe there are some people that still don't know you. Maybe they have missed our first episode. So maybe give the people some background of like who you are and why you're excited about Bitcoin.
Sure. Yeah, this is my second time on the Robin show. So thanks for having me on again. I was excited for this one. I love talking to you. Had the pleasure of meeting you in Vegas, which was my first ever Bitcoin conference that I went to. And I'm Jor from 88 Sats Radio. I have a bit of a different show. It's a little bit more philosophy focused. I focus a lot on Bitcoin security stuff in terms of like protecting your sats. It doesn't matter too much how much Bitcoin you have today. It's about how much your family's going to have in 50 years from now. So that's kind of one thing that really fascinated me because I was thinking through this stuff a lot. I was looking for the best setup, the best products to be using. And I would lay in bed at night and think like, is there any holes in this security setup? Because I understand where this whole thing is going. And you want to make sure that you actually have that Bitcoin in decades from now. And so I'd play through all these different scenarios and which is a good thing because I think even, top athletes, they visualize things, right? Whether it's an F1 racer or a downhill ski racer, they've ran that track in their mind thousands of times before they actually step on the track. And so I feel like you have to do the same kind of thing with Bitcoin. You have to visualize all the different things that could happen. Think about your threat models and think about the vulnerabilities in your setup. And so I just kind of like talking about it to, spark something within people. Maybe they miss something. Because I just find like there's so much information out there right now. We live in an information age. It's abundant. You could find anything you want to for free in about 3 seconds now. But the problem is that people don't really know what questions to ask, what prompts to give the AI. So that's kind of the conversations that I usually have is just like talking through things. And and hoping to spark something within somebody that they take some action.
I love that. And I think especially with the information age and where we are, and I think we last time actually touched a little bit on AI, but it's more and more important to just ask the right questions, and then with the answers that you get from all the machines, ask again the right questions based on that, and then formulate slowly a plan according to that. But it's asking questions like a really underrated skill. I feel like it's like this is the whole thing of like, do you get any benefit out of AI, or are you losing out on that? Because if you can also use it in a bad way, I guess. I don't know if you can use it in a bad way. Can you use AI in a bad
I'm
way?
sure you
Probably
could.
like
It
just giving it
depends
all the
what.
information and not getting anything out.
Yeah, and it probably depends how you define bad too. Like that'd be a subjective for everybody. But yeah, I'm sure it's going to be used for a lot of bad things in the future. It probably already is, and there's a lot of, and that's one of the threats. Really, is people watching you, this camera watching you all the time. Um, you know, People are getting pretty clever with their schemes. Trying to. The reality is that if you're here watching this show today in 2025, like you have more wealth than you're ever going to know what to do with. But the problem is that there's going to be a lot of people who want to take that from you. And the cool thing is that if you do it properly, they're going to have a very hard time doing that. It's not like gold where they can break into your house and take it from you. It's not like property like land where the government can change and they decide that maybe we don't want the citizens owning this anymore. It's something that you can take real ownership of. It's the first asset in my mind anyways that actually has the ability to do that. The first asset that you can truly own is Bitcoin. So that's the kind of stuff that I talk through, is like how to get to that spot. Everybody's at a different spot in their journey right now in Bitcoin. There's people who have been here since the inauguration in January. There's people who have been here for 10 years. But unless you actually know what you're looking for, you're not going to be able to utilize the tools that we have here now with the AI. But if you have that, if you know what you're doing, if you know what to look for, if you know what questions to ask, you can really use that as a benefit in your life in a lot of areas, but Bitcoin especially.
And I guess with that, physical attacks actually are decreasing. I mean, we always talk about the wrench attack and people coming to the house, and there's those like from the ledger guy and the France guy, and there's like examples that happen. But I think overall, it's so much easier nowadays to do all those attacks online from the comfort of your like home and like do it protected. So it's really hard to find you. Where if you do it physically, there's a lot of things that can go wrong if you
Yep.
do a physical attack. Just like thinking from the attacker's point of view,
Yep.
why would you go through the hustle of going for a physical attack when you can do it all online, and the chances of getting something and getting away with it is like, I don't want to put any ideas in anymore, but it's just way higher. I haven't seen any statistics, but I would guess that physical attacks in general are actually going down, just because there's no more. It's harder to get actual value out of like stealing someone in a home. Like I don't even have my Bitcoin at home. So like if you come here, I can literally give you, like I have one small gold bar. It's almost worth nothing that I can give you. So like it's like, okay, shit. Like you can break into someone's home, get all the risks, and then maybe stand with nothing there, because even if you kill them, there's still nothing in the home that you can extract from them.
Well, that's the way to ensure that you're not going to get somebody's Bitcoin if they have it secured properly is to kill them. Like that's the only way that you're not going to get that Bitcoin for sure, is if you kill them, which is kind of cool when you think about it that way. It's like it really raises the cost of crime, of violence. And I think that that's going to have a widespread effect in society, because people aren't just going to, it's not going to be worth their time to do it. It's going to be I think a long, challenging road to get there, and a very bumpy road. And, I think if you can get through the next 5 to 10 years holding your Bitcoin, you're probably going to be fine, because people who are coming after you, they're going to realize that, like you said, you don't have any Bitcoin at your house right now. That's what everybody should be striving to get to. And you and we're on YouTube and stuff, so we're a little bit more public than most people. But again, I'm sure people have had conversations with their friends and their family and their coworkers enough that if somebody was wanting to get some Bitcoin, they would know which house to go to. And so it's like you need to be thinking about this stuff, like the public facing people are, because it's important. You don't want to be in a situation where the Bitcoin's at your house. I mean, there's a lot of people. One of the biggest mistakes I made early on in Bitcoin is leaving my cold card or my hardware device and my 12 words sitting right beside each other, which kind of defeats the whole purpose of the hardware device itself, because that's what has, the pin code on it. That's what has, the secure elements in it. And then you leave your 12 words sitting right there, where if somebody found it, it doesn't matter what, how secure your hardware device is. They take those 12 words, they put it into a new wallet, and they now have your Bitcoin. So there's just so many things like that when people are getting into Bitcoin. There's so much to learn about the network itself, about UTXOs, about security, and it's very overwhelming for people. And I've just been doing my best to hammer it into people of how important this is right now, instead of watching the price and the news and which company's buying Bitcoin this week. It's like, focus on getting more sats and focus on protecting the sats that you have today.
Yeah, that's as a whole game. And then coming back to the thing that we just discussed, like right in the beginning, the first minute, where we always have this videos of like get to 0.1, get to 1 Bitcoin, get to 1.9, but maybe the more important topic would be like, keep your 0.1 Bitcoin, keep your 0.25 Bitcoin, keep whatever you have accumulated, like keep that. Like make sure if you have any amount of Bitcoin, you probably will be fine, unless you only put like 1% of portfolio in there and it's like a very small stack. It's like, yeah, probably probably should get more of them, but yeah, it's like keeping them and securing them is a more important topic. But at the same time, nobody wants to listen to that. Like everyone wants to listen to like what I can buy with 0.1 Bitcoin, and nobody wants to listen to how to actually keep those Bitcoin. You as content creator have probably gone through the same discovery.
Yeah. And when you're talking about security and stuff like that, it is boring for people. It's a reality. But I think if you kind of change the angle and say, the only thing more scarce than Bitcoin today is your time. And I just feel like when people are so obsessed and so focused on getting to a certain goal in Bitcoin, they kind of put their life aside and their friends and their family and, just being outside, and just so focused on, on their phone, trying to get sats and, posting on Noster. It's like, it's good to have goals, but at the same time, it's not about how much Bitcoin you have. It's about how much fun you have. That's the point of life, I think. And so when you talk through that and you think through that, it's like, yeah, if you fast forward here, if you look out 20, 25 years right now, because most people, I think, in Bitcoin today, they'll tell you that they're doing it for their family. They're doing it for the generations to come. They're looking at this like, land back when people first started settling here. It's the same kind of thing. So if you play it out and you think that one day $1 is going to equal 1 sat, which means that Bitcoin's going to be $100 million in fiat price. It's like, think about what it's going to be worth at that time. If you can get like 5,000 sats today, that's going to be the equivalent of $5,000 in the future. And so if you have any amount of sats right now that you're leaving to your family, they're going to be good, right? People are still thinking in terms of like what Bitcoin's worth today. They're not really thinking about what it's going to be worth when they actually go to pass it down to their kids and their kids. Like, it's going to be crazy amounts of wealth. So it's like, yes, it's good to have goals. Yes, you should be doing as much as you can to, get more and add as much value as you can to the world. But it's not everything. You have to enjoy yourself. You have to look after yourself, take care of your health, and just have fun, and enjoy the ride. That's kind of one thing that I've been focused on, is just reminding people that, just enjoy it, smile, you're okay. Bitcoin it gives hope to a lot of people. And I think that if you can kind of focus on that aspect and really adding value, that's one thing I've noticed about the Bitcoin community, is like, that's the core principle in life, is add value to the world and you're going to get some back in return. There's no shortcuts, there's no games to play. It's just reality. Provide something that people want and they'll pay you for it. And you can convert that into Bitcoin and then you save it there. And that's kind of the whole game here for me.
Yeah, it's like stacking, like having fun, providing value, and then saving the thing that comes on top of the line into Bitcoin. There's one aspect that I like a little bit about that goal setting of like getting to 1 Bitcoin, is that someone that might be disencouraged from the fiat system of like not being able to save, and kind of that's why he's kind of sick of providing value and like kind of stacking back and like maybe scaling back a little bit, and getting to 1 Bitcoin or getting to 0.1, whatever the target is, might motivate someone and have fun again into proof of work. Like putting like an actual thing in there might actually trigger in someone like, oh, I can save a few Satoshis each week, and those Satoshis actually get more purchasing power. So not only do I get something from my work, but if I save in the right thing, I get more of that. So almost like the reverse of what fiat does to you. It motivates to provide value and provide proof of work. So I think that's the if you look at the most positive angle of like get to 1 Bitcoin, I think that's it, like motivating someone to do something with their life. But it also, at the same time, and I want to show you a picture, I think you will love that picture. It can actually also be the whole normal fiat rat race that you then into that, just with not saving dollars but saving Bitcoin. And it was super popular. I posted that like in May, like 2 months ago, something like that, and it got like crazy amount of views, like almost 200,000 views. So people really resonated with that. And you see, for the few people that listen only and don't watch, there's a guy chasing after Bitcoin. Then the second picture is like a guy chasing after some Bitcoin, and he also has some Bitcoin. And then it's like he stands on the cliff with all the Bitcoin. But the life ends. So and then there's like the written thing: dying rich, living poor. And I think that's what you're kind of concluding towards. Where it's important to have a goal, but also it's important to have fun and use your Bitcoin. And I wrote here: make sure you use your Bitcoin to get more life, and not giving more life to Bitcoin.
Yep, I love that. And I think it was Jack Mallers who gave a speech at in Vegas. He was talking about the same kind of thing, the miser with his gold. And, if it's just buried, people can go listen to that. I'm not going to tell the whole story here, but it's the same kind of thing. It's like, you might as well just have anything there. If you're not going to do anything with it, it could be anything, right? It could be gold. It could be a rock. It could be whatever. You actually have to use it. And, I think that's the one thing that a lot of people are getting wrong right now, is that they look at Bitcoin as like an investment that they're going to, buy X amount and then retire in a couple years, versus just, it's a savings account right now, right? It's a savings account right now. In the future, we're going to be able to buy and sell things with it as a medium of exchange. And then eventually it's going to reprice the whole world. We're kind of living through that. We're fortunate enough to get to live through that whole process there. But it's true. Like you have to be willing to spend some Bitcoin. And I do like the fact that, like you said there, it gives somebody, the ability to get to 1 Bitcoin or even to 0.1 of a Bitcoin. That's the thing that I like most about it, is like people are now kind of talking in terms of sats instead of how many Bitcoin you need. It's how many sats you need. And I think that that's much more realistic for people. And it's encouraging, I think, the fact that, even if you don't have a lot, if you start today and you just keep doing it consistently, then you're actually going to have a pretty big stack by the end of it. And even when people say, I'm going to buy Bitcoin as much as I can for the next 5 years, and then I'm going to, stop. It's like, stop what? Then you're just going to go back and start saving in fiat again? I doubt it. 5 years from now, you're going to have 10 times the conviction that you have today. So it's just like, there's no real timelines. There's no goals. It's just, again, get as much as you can. Understand where we are right now in this whole crazy transition that we're living through, and, just enjoy it.
Yeah. And there is, I can see where people are coming from, because there might be like an accumulation phase where maybe early in the life you want to like dig in a little bit harder and like accumulate, so you have more to spend when you get kids, like you're married, all those. Like, I don't like, you can do whatever you want. Like, you don't have to have the accumulation phase or the spending phase or whatever. I personally think like I always want to do something. it's also interesting. How do you actually define retirement? It's one of the other very popular topics in Bitcoin, retire on Bitcoin. How do you define retirement?
Well, that's exactly it. It's like retirement, I think, it's a scam. It's like the retirement that we know is people went to work for 40 years. Most people hated what they did for those 40 years. And then they got to retire and they got a nice fixed income that the government and their employer and their retirement fund subsidizes. And they can travel for a few years. And then it's like, then what? So you just spent the best years of your life doing something that you hated so that you can retire and sit on the beach for a while. It's just like, I'm not into that. And that, even before Bitcoin, one of the things that changed my mind about the whole work, environment and retirement was actually Tim Ferriss's book, The 4 Hour Work Week. And that's his whole thing. It's like, you shouldn't be so focused on retirement. You should be taking mini retirements throughout your life and changing things and changing what you do. And so retirement to me, I doubt that I'll ever retire. I feel kind of retired right now in a way, in the sense that I can do whatever I want with my days. And I think that that's the real thing that people should be chasing, in my opinion. Anyways, that's what I was trying to do. And I think that that's the most fulfilling, is when you can find something, a specific skill that you have, and combine those and add value to the world and actually enjoy it. And then there is no retirement. I feel like retirement's quitting something you hate. Whereas if you just do things that you love doing, it's like, what are you going to stop doing that? There's lots of definitions for it, but that's kind of how I think about it anyways.
I love that, because I also consider myself retired, even though if I stop working today completely, I'd probably run out of Bitcoin. I don't know.
Me too.
But I'd probably run out of Bitcoin at some point, especially because I'm young, especially because I want to also have a nice life. But retirement for me, and I've told this story. Sorry if some people heard it too many times already, but it's important to make the point. It's when I started this podcast, I had no fixed income. I had no big sponsor that completely just supported me. In fact, the only sponsor that I had at that time left me 2 months later. So I started this whole thing and was like, okay, I have one sponsor that said okay, let's try it out for 2 months. After that, he left and let's see where it goes. And I was like, okay, I will just try it out. I can live for a few months off my Bitcoin if I really have to. I'm not homeless tomorrow. And at that point, I was super scared. I cried times. It was horrible to take that decision. But once I took the decision, it was just pure bliss. It was just amazing. Once I took the decision, I literally remembered. I told my boss that, and we finally settled on okay, this is where I completely go out of the company. And it was within 3 weeks. But this was where I signed the contract of okay, I'm not going to sue you. We're going to in next 3 weeks. We're going to do this very normal. I love the company. So it was a very mutual thing. And it was very nice thing also. They even threw a party for me and all those things. And I remember going on that Friday at noon down to the garage to the car and sitting in there. And just oh shit, I was turning up the music. I was just so happy. I was so fulfilled. I was in traffic. Everyone was shouting at each other, pumping their horns and all those things. And I was such a big smile in my car. And ever since then, I'm obviously it's hard to have a daily podcast, and there's a lot of challenges, and it's just sometimes you want to kill yourself because it's so hard. But most of the time it's so joyful. You provide value and you do exactly what you really want to do. Thank you for watching this video. This was only a snippet of the podcast, and if you want to watch the full episode and get all of the context of this episode, you can click right here or here. Oh, maybe also here.